Okay.
Okay, so the recordings are just going.
Moaning?
Okay, moaning when I forgot to bring my pen.
I call to order the regular meeting of the Warrenville Public Library District Board of Trustees for Wednesday, May 19th. It's now 7:05 p.m. Trustee DeRosa.
Present.
Trustee Luzan.
Here.
Trustee Richardson.
Here.
Trustee Rosika.
Present.
Trustee Stoll.
Present.
Trustee Warren.
Present.
Trustee Pika is also present, as well as in the room, Director Sandra Whitmer and Administrative Assistant Jackie Davis.
And
Oh, well, see, I can't, Cindy, sorry, Jamie.
And I will say, participating remotely are Cynthia Makowski, Kathy Gatis, and Paul Doverston.
Thank you. Are we all set, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Okay. The next item on the agenda would be the approval of trustee remote participation, since everyone's here. I believe we can skip that. We go to item 4, which is the approval of the agenda. As usual, unless anybody has anything they feel is necessary to hold a closed session, I would suggest we eliminate 23 and 24. Is there anything anybody wants to change or anything taken off the consent agenda going to the regular agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
second.
Okay, motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Warren. Okay, I don't know if we can do this as a voice vote. so.
You can do it as a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Any presentations, Director Whitmer?
No,
I do know we have a couple public. Any comments?
I have public comments here that came in online that I'm going to read.
Okay,
The first is from Laura Hall, and it was sent via email. I have concerns about lifting mask guidelines. We don't actually know who is vaccinated in the library at any point. It should be a safe place for children younger than 12 years of age to visit and participate in programs. And until they can be vaccinated, it seems as though the rest of us should protect them with our own masks. I have also heard that playing outdoors is probably safer even without masks if numbers are smaller. I understand that this is a tough call and appreciate your considering the issue. The second comes from Janice Nasuda, and it was sent in response to the e-news that went out last week that said we were continuing to require masks until the board had time to discuss it. Her email said, unacceptable. The next was also in response to e-news from Robert Kroll. He says, good decision on the mask wearing. There's no way at the moment to know who has been fully vaccinated and who has not. Opting to be cautious is the right decision. The next was also in response to email, the e-news from Deborah Anton. She says, this is such a nicely worded email, informative without being preachy, very professional. And the last of the comments that came in response to e-news is from B. Mignon. It is dumb to keep requiring masks. People need to breathe. Even Trader Joe's lifted the mask mandate. Won't be going back till masks are removed. Okay, the next comment came in through Facebook from Lauren Milligan. She says, thank you for being on the side of common sense by keeping the mask requirement in place. I hope no one pushes you to enforce it. The next is an email that came from Karen Binkard. She says, I recommend that the July 15th, 2020 COVID-19 addendum for library use policy continue as written until a greater percentage of the population is vaccinated. Ideally, that would be when 70% of the population is vaccinated. Thank you for your consideration. And the last email I have is from Varya Vasilev. With the recent CDC announcement, I think it would be in the interest of the community for the Warrenville Public Library District to open up some socially distanced tables for patrons to come in and work. With the current restrictions of 1 hour, it can be too little time to sit and study or work. I think there should be a larger time limit, 3 or 4 hours instead, especially if the library is important for people to come in and work. And let me just double check, make sure no one else came in. That is all I have.
Okay,
I think that's the most responses to anything that I've ever heard come into this meeting.
Well, it's a hot topic.
Let's keep it going.
and those comments are in your packet, I believe. So
Yeah, I think there might be
one
one
or
that
two
just came in.
additional, yes. Okay, any correspondence that, other than the comments?
No.
Okay, then at this time, I'd like to move on to item 8. The items on the consent agenda start on page 3, and I'd like to ask our secretary, Roseanne, to read the consent agenda, please.
Consent agenda. A, approved minutes of the April 21st, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting. B, approved minutes of the April 21st, 2021 regular board meeting. C, approved minutes of the closed session of the April 21st, 2021 regular board of trustees meeting. D, receive and file financial report for April. E, receive and file canvass and abstract of votes cast in the consolidated election held in DuPage County on Tuesday, April 6, 2021.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
I second.
Motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Rizika. Any discussion? Trustee Stahl,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Aye.
trustee Lazan, aye. Trustee Rizika,
Aye.
trustee Pika also votes aye. The consent agenda is approved. Number 9, I believe goes to you, the oath of office.
It goes to, I'm looking at this packet, we've got a whole section missing.
Okay, I think I'm reading correctly.
Yes, there is,
Sandy was on.
Sandy Lazan is doing the
Yes.
oath of
Yeah.
office for Jerry and Barbara. And while you're doing that, I am going to go back to my office. We don't have anything in here about the reorganization of the board.
Yes, we
do.
Yes, we do.
It's
Page
there.
24.
Yeah, it's on page 24.
Oh,
It says on the back of the sheet.
thank you.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so,
It is the board secretary will now issue the oath of office to the re-elected trustees, Barbara DeRocher, and someone named Jerry.
so you have those sheets, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Do you guys want to stand in a well-lit area, maybe against the wall?
How about back here?
That would be great. We can take your picture,
Oh, boy.
unless you don't want your pictures taken. What's your preference?
I'm not really excited about that.
It looks so fabulous, this mess. Maybe it's not even me behind this mess.
Okay. I, Barbara DeRocher, have,
Put my hand up.
I, Barbara J. DeRocher,
I, Barbara J. DeRocher,
having been duly elected to the office of trustee of the Warrenville Public Library District,
having been duly elected as trustee of the Warrenville Public Library District,
County of DuPage, State of Illinois,
County of DuPage, State of Illinois,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of trustee to the best of my ability.
of the office of trustee to the best of my ability. Had so much weight to it. It really did. I'm like, after this year,
Gravitas.
I promise.
You have a lot to remember.
A little nervous.
Okay, you ready? I don't know. I, Jerry Peacock,
I, Jerry Peacock,
having been duly elected to the office of trustee of the Warrenville Public Library District,
having been duly elected to the office of trustee of the Warrenville Public Library District,
County of DuPage, State of Illinois,
County of DuPage, State of Illinois,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of trustee to the best of my ability.
of the office of trustee to the best of my ability.
I think they each will need to sign those
Yes.
papers before you leave this meeting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is the election of board officers for 2021 through 2023. I just want to say my thanks again to all of you for the honor and privilege of serving as your president for the last 4 years. Thank you very much.
You did a great job here.
Thank you. Thank you. You have on page 24 where we're going with this. We're going to need a president. Trustee Warren can remain as vice president. Trustee Stull can remain as treasurer. And Trustee Lazan can remain as secretary. All those three people are eligible for other positions, should that be the desire of the board. So the floor is open for nominations for the office of president of the board.
I nominate Barb DeRocher for president.
I second.
Thank you.
Are you willing to serve?
I am.
Are there any other additional nominations for this office? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. So therefore, all in favor of Barbara DeRocher for president? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go. You have been duly elected as president of the Warrenville Public Library District Board of Education. Thank you and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
So you're in charge now.
Great. Are all three of the other officers willing to continue on your terms?
Yes,
Let me just go one by one. Trustee Warren, are you willing to continue on for another 2-year term?
I am.
Excellent. And Trustee Stull, are you?
Yes.
Great. And Trustee Lazan, are you?
I would prefer to switch with Heather if she's okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Are we happy about that?
that's fine.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Heather, you're awesome. Treasurer.
You would be
That's fine, I mean,
treasurer.
I know that I've probably been the most experienced secretary there is out of the majority of time I've been on the board. I think that's been, so, no, absolutely, it's fine if you're,
I feel comfortable with the numbers. With Dutch Trust lately, I feel more comfortable with numbers because that's what I've done as accounting. So,
All right, then we need to take a formal vote. All in favor of Trustee Stull as secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and so Trustee Stull, that motion passes.
okay, so now I've got to be sure I'm taking notes.
And all in favor of Trustee Lazan as treasurer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so motion passes. All right,
can you please vote on Rick as the vice
Oh,
president for the next
absolutely.
years of
All
the-
in favor of trustee Warren continuing as vice president?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, and now we have committee assignments, and the Personnel Committee has been Rick and I for a bit. And since I'm taking on the duties of the president, I'd like to hand those over if there's anyone else interested on being on the Personnel Committee.
Well, I'm the alternate, so I guess I'd be willing to do that.
I nominate Jill.
All right, excellent. Jill, are you willing? You're willing too. And Rick, are you interested in remaining on that committee?
I can do that, sure.
All right. Good. Do we need to vote on these positions?
Technically, they're appointments by the president, so
You're appointed then, Jill. Fantastic. The City Library Task Force, I am happy to remain on that. There's been very little activity, and I'm very interested in what's going on in the city. And so, and Sandy. Is there anyone else that's interested in becoming part of the task force? No, then we're going to remain with that appointment. The Open Meetings Act designee right now is usually one trustee and Director Whitmer. Right now it's Trustee Stull, Trustee Warren, and Director Whitmer. And we can continue with that arrangement if that is amenable to people, but we don't have to. It depends on your wishes.
Well, I know that I've done it for so long that, and I mean, I guess I feel like maybe that's time to turn it over to somebody else too. So, just because I feel like the more knowledge any of the trustees have regarding the Open Meetings Act, the least likely we are to violate it. Because, and I guess I'm more sensitive to that just with being at the courthouse as much as I am, and so.
Yeah, you're very knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
But I think Trustee Redzico, you're not in any of the committees, and I'm wondering if that might be something.
Well,
you'd be
I'm an
interested in.
alternate here for the City Library Task Force.
Right, so
um,
I'm wondering if you'd be willing to be
Are you
on
gonna
the,
take trustees Warren off the Open Meetings Act designee?
no, to take Trustee Stull's place?
Yeah.
Oh, I see, you need two.
No, we don't need to. And we can just continue with Trustee Warren and Director Whitmer, if you'd rather not.
Yeah, that's fine.
What?
Well, because all it is sitting, is just taking.
I mean,
your
I didn't say whether she was
training
fine
thing,
for her
it
to
takes
go on
maybe
or.
an hour.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay.
all it is.
All right, that's fine.
You want on or
So
off?
that's fine, is that you want to come on, or that's fine?
That's okay, I will come on.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm appointing Trustee Redzika and reappointing Trustee Warren to the Open Meetings Act as the Open Meetings Act designates. The Freedom of Information Act is the library director and the assistant to the director, and we're going to continue with those appointments if that is acceptable to all.
does anybody else want to do that?
Yeah, how about Jamie? Hey, Jamie.
No, it's the people that aren't in the room that get.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jackie and I have all the access to the record, so it
makes the most sense.
most sense.
Right.
Yes.
All right, Ethics Advisor, Trustee Lozano, is that something you're interested in continuing? Great, then we'll continue with that. And then the library system and SWAN contact should absolutely continue to be Director Whitmer. So we're gonna stick with that. All right, let's move on to the regular agenda.
I will just note here that I will send the information for the required Open Meetings Act training. That needs to go to Cindy and Rick, and also as re-elected trustees, you get to, the two of you will get to complete that as well. Barbara and Jerry. So I will get that out to you.
my schedule.
And how soon do we have to do this?
I will have to look probably before next month's meeting. It's within, there's a certain amount of, there's a time period.
I can do that.
Find out what that is.
As long as I have a month, that's good. All right, so the next thing on our regular agenda is the payment, approval of payment for April to May.
Move we pay invoices in the amount of $49,215.65 for the period of April 22nd, 2021 through May 19th, 2021, including electronic payments and checks 8227 through 8269.
I'll
Second.
second.
Thank you. Trustee Richardson made that motion and trustee Warren, second. And so we'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Ritzica.
Aye.
Trustee Sell.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, moving on. For the transfer of funds,
I move we approve the transfer of $125,000 from commercial checking account to operating checking account.
thank you,
I'm
trustee Warren.
second.
Who was that?
Cindy, Ruzika.
Cindy Ritzica seconded, okay, we'll go with that. And that also needs a roll call vote. So we'll move the opposite direction. Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Richardson,
Aye.
trustee Stoll,
Aye.
trustee Ritzica,
Aye.
trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Pika,
Aye.
motion passes. All right. On to new business, the DuPage Monarch Watch resolution. I did have a chance to speak with Connie Schmidt about this, and she and I both had incredibly intense weeks in the last weeks. And so it was hard for us to connect. So I don't have a lot of information to give to you today, other than Connie did get in touch with someone from the organization and the DuPage Monarch Project. They did forward me a couple of different template resolutions, and I haven't had a chance to look at them. I am going to look at them and likely put them in next month's board packet for us all to look at. This project or declaring this resolution does not commit us to any financial financial outlay. And we are already doing some programming around it. So we may or may not include that as part of our resolution. The way that resolutions normally go is you say, whereas, therefore, and the therefores are the things that we're gonna do about it. So we don't have to do much about it if we don't want to, but since we're already doing things, we can just say the things we're already doing. So we can talk about it more at length next month. I'm not really feeling like that there's any reason not to do it, but we can definitely have the wider question is, if we do this, if there are other organizations that want to have resolutions, does that open us up to those other organizations? So that will be part of the discussion for next month, okay? All right. Anything else you want to add about that, Sandy?
No, I think you covered it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good. All right. And then the next item of business, 14B, is the placement of beehive on the library property.
Indeed. I did not contact the city because I wanted to get a lower level impression of it. And I figured that if I contacted the city first, I'd be stirring up a hornet's nest, so to speak. So I talked to a local beekeeper, and she was telling me that it was rather difficult to do in that you needed to be 15 feet away from neighbors. And as a private homeowner, she can satisfy that. But in our close proximity, I don't know that we could do it. It has to be on a south-facing front, whichever direction that might be. The sun's setting over
that's
there, so I
north,
think it's
yeah.
down that way or something. But anyway, I think that might be facing our real neighbors. And she said that it has to be behind a fenced area, and that there's really, she said, a huge number of bees that use this. So she says that she has one hive, and she estimates that she's got about 250,000 bees there all summer long. And they only last about 4 weeks, each individual bee. So the job of the queen is to lay eggs, and that's good. Because she has to keep doing that in order to replenish the hive every 4 weeks, and so continuously. apparently if anybody gets rambunctious, and I'm thinking vandals at this point, go and disturb the hive, and should they kill the queen, then they don't know what to do, and they become very nervous, and at that point, then they go on attack mode, because nobody's telling them not to do anything, and they're making this up as they go. So I looked at all these types of things, and she didn't know what the liability aspects would be, and all it take is somebody's little kid to get bit, and it might be all over. So I'm thinking that even though it might be an educational type of thing that would be very interesting for essentially everybody, due to the fact that there are some bad actors out there that would tend to ruin it for everyone, that perhaps in an abundance of caution, we should probably not take that any further. So I'm not going to bother the city with it, because who knows? We might be able to start this up some other time.
I very much appreciate you though reaching out and learning more about it. So that
I would have really liked to have done it.
definitely educational. If we had a bigger piece of property, you know, I think we could entertain it, but
But we'd have to find somebody that would be willing to undertake
Maintain
the care
Yep.
and
Right.
the servicing, which would be educational in its own right. But
Exactly.
still, that'd be yet another thing for somebody to do, and they gotta get suited up, and they've gotta have all kinds of equipment, and they have to be insured, and we would still be somewhat liable, I guess. It's
right,
a can of worms, these bees.
right. Yeah.
I
So
like
we'll
all your
try
creative little-
or a hornet's nest.
And we all know that when you, and we all know that when you open a can of worms, you need a bigger can. So,
There you go.
All right, thanks so much, Rick.
you're welcome.
All right, we're gonna move on then to page 31, review and approve revised COVID-19 addendum to library use policy. And Director Whitmer, I think you can take this away. Take it away.
Where do I start? Okay. First of all, I started this packet before the CDC made their announcement. So I was trying to be proactive, assuming that phase 5 was coming to us soon. And also assuming that phase 5 would come with recommendations to continue some precautions, including mask wearing. So of course, probably 30 minutes after Jackie had these copied in everybody's mailboxes, that's when the announcement came out from the CDC, of course. So since we all know the CDC has announced that vaccinated individuals, fully vaccinated individuals, no longer need to wear a mask or social distance. But the second piece of that is that unvaccinated individuals should continue to wear a mask until such time that they are fully vaccinated. Since that announcement was made last Thursday, the State Department of Public Health and the DuPage County Health Department have kind of fallen in line and adopted those same guidelines. Under the state's declaration, it actually came through as an executive order from the governor. The language in that executive order, and actually the language in the CDC statement as well, state that government units, such as the library district, can set their own policies. So it is up to the library district to determine whether we will adopt the guidance issued by the CDC or whether we will continue to require everyone who enters the building to wear a mask. So I did draft another memo on Monday. That was before the governor and the county came into line. So based on that information, I just have some questions for the board to think through and maybe give us some feedback. I don't know if you all have this from Monday the 17th. It's on the second page under other considerations. These were things that I have been thinking through. managers, we've discussed things a little bit as well. But the first consideration is that throughout the pandemic, we've pointed to the CDC, the Illinois Department of Public Health, and the DuPage County Health Department as our guides. So we've been following their recommendations since the beginning of the pandemic. Of course, we don't have the expertise to make these decisions. We're relying on experts, epidemiologists, scientists, et cetera. So the question is, do we want to break from this practice at this time? Or do we want to, break from the practice of following the guidance of those and go on our own and continue to require masks? Or do we just want to stay the course and follow their guidance? The other thing here is that up to this point, we really have not been crowded here at the library. It's rare to have more than 30 individuals in the library at any given time. But I do expect visits to increase over the summer. And as you probably read in my board report, we're planning to add more casual chairs on the floor, some more study tables, so people will probably be staying a little bit longer than usual. I really don't anticipate that we're going to be so crowded that people still can't social distance. There is a factual error here, though. I've since learned. I said that we were going to use 250 as our capacity. I've since learned we've been following the retail guidelines that were put out by the state of Illinois and the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And their guidelines for 60% say that the capacity should really be 6 people per 1,000 square feet. So following those guidelines, our capacity is only 75 individuals. I still don't think we're going to have 75 individuals in the building at any given time.
I mean, it would have been rare for us to have that many before,
Right,
under any circumstances,
correct,
unless it was a program.
right. So, or like our open house, yeah, then we have lots of people. So 75 would be our capacity limit. I don't think that we're going to hit that.
What is your basis for the square footage? Is that this main floor where people are, or downstairs as well, which isn't used too
It is
much?
only, I measured I excluded any meeting room or study room space because those aren't available. Same with the discovery room. And it is just the space in the public floors. And I actually was conservative. I took out some square footage for where there's furniture and that sort of things. Now the DCO guidelines are just a flat square footage of, say, your store, and it accommodates for fixtures and furnishings. So that 75 is still a very conservative number in my mind. It does not include downstairs. It does not include any staff spaces. It's just the available public space.
Now, the 75 doesn't include staff, that's besides staff, correct?
Right. I don't think we would have to include staff in that number.
And since it's conservative,
Right.
there is option for give or take.
Right. The next thing to understand is that our current policy says that when the state hits phase 5, we will no longer require masks. So the revision that I had proposed originally was simply that when the state reached this phase 5, if the state has continued guidance for precautions, that we would follow that guidance. Phase 5 is going to happen. There's certain metrics in place. And basically, phase 5 will probably happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we don't have too much longer to go before, unless things go south. We don't have too much longer to go until we reach phase 5. It is kind of just around the corner.
What happens if a new variant comes in and numbers go back up?
We adjust.
We would
We go
adjust.
back.
We just
Right.
go back to the way it
It
was.
would be on a different,
And so the policy, the library policy was that if we return to phase 4 at any time, we would then go back to requiring masks.
Okay, my head is like spinning not from what you presented, but just because of what has just been in the news and reported about what different organizations have been going through. And so sometimes I feel like I'm hearing that the CDC is trying to give guidance that we should continue to wear masks. And sometimes I feel like I hear that the CDC is basically saying, no, we're not saying that you need to wear masks. So I really, as your interpretation of what the CDC is saying is what, Sandy?
I think they were very clear in their statements. What they've said on their website is that, I thought I had it, but maybe I don't.
CDC.
Oh, here, fully vaccinated people no longer need to wear a mask or physically distance in any setting except where required by federal, state, local, tribal, or territorial laws, rules, and regulations, including local business and workplace guidance. So I think their main statement, and where most people stopped reading, was after the statement that says fully vaccinated people no longer need to wear a mask or physically distance in any setting. That's what most people, I think, have taken.
Okay,
and
that's
they've-
probably why my head is spinning, because, yeah, all right.
Right, and then there's this whole other piece that basically says, local businesses, governments, they can set their own policies. So here's what we're saying, CDC is saying, you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. But if your business wants to continue requiring masks, you can absolutely continue to do that.
Well, from my perspective as a school teacher,
Mhm.
it's very easy for us to know in a setting such as a school where we have a contained audience or a contained clientele or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's easy for us to know who's vaccinated and who's not. And so that's different than a public setting where people are coming and going at will. And there has been increased illness among children. It really didn't even start happening until about February at the school, February or March. And it was really a new variant, and it definitely had an effect at the school. Now, it hasn't, it seems to have really calmed down quite a bit with the children, but the children are not able, the children who are under 12 at this point are not able to be vaccinated. And that's a pretty significant clientele group or patron group or member group at the library. And so I feel that that's an important safety measure to have in place. And since we're not going to really know who's vaccinated and who's not, I would advocate for continuing masking until we're actually at phase 5.
I agree with Barbara, and also I'd like to express concern for the staff.
Right.
That would be a concern I would have. Not that who's vaccinated and who's not, but like you stated, how do you know who is vaccinating and they're free at will coming and going in the library?
I would just say, are we having any programs for children in person? That we would have to worry about so many children being in the building?
We have summer programs planned. They're all outside. We're
Okay,
actually at, the majority of ones for the youngest children are actually at Sterney Park.
okay. I mean, because as far as knowing who's vaccinated and who's not, you know, that's something we are never going to know. And some people are never going to get vaccinated. They're just going to go without their masks. I mean, it's a matter of, at that point, you have to look to yourself. You know, if you feel comfortable with the mask on, wear the mask. If you don't feel you want to, you don't wear it. We can't, you know, it's a matter of, you need to be looking out for yourself, is what I'm trying to say. You can't control what other people do. We're gonna have a lot of people who don't get vaccinated.
Right, but we can ask people to wear a mask in our building, though. We do have the ability to do
So are
that.
we gonna wear masks forever?
No, what I was recommending was that we continue to wear masks until we're at phase 5.
For 2 or 3 more weeks?
Should be June 11th.
Are we willing to take some of the, like, there are businesses who have policies where they say, okay, you voluntarily show me a card or you wear a mask. It's your choice.
I do
And
not
is it
recommend,
possible?
yeah, I do not recommend we do that. We have to add staff.
Yeah.
We're at the point where we're taking away the reader stand because we do not have
Okay.
enough
I
staff
was wondering if that was
for our
considered.
desks. Yeah.
Well, if we're going to be having, this building open, and since this weekend it's going to be 91 degrees, that as it gets warmer and warmer, people are gonna seek this library as a place of activity for little kids. And if children under 12 come in too, then they're not protected. And the 16-year-olds, well, they will get vaccines as their parents want them. But I would suggest that we continue to require masks inside as the population or the visitor level increases until 12-year-olds reach that 50% mark. Just out of, you can say, we're doing this for our children. And that, nobody's going to complain about that, even anti-vaxxers and no maskers and all this type of stuff.
That's really not true.
No, I was gonna say we.
They don't care
No.
at that point
No,
either.
not really.
No.
All right, we have a comment from,
Well, and the other thing that I feel about, if we keep requiring masks and the policy is consistent, if we start trying to, I don't want to create something where it may be confrontational, it may be an issue for staff. If you've got, you know, if somebody comes in and is like, well, I'm fully vaccinated, or, and say, whether it's another patron or something, well, you know, prove it. You know, whereas this way, I feel like if it's consistent and it's the same, we don't create an error, either, an environment where somebody could be discriminated against because of, or somehow, because I guess my feeling is if somebody comes in and say they're, you know, well, no, you have to put one on, and some, you know, then all of a sudden we're making the staff be the bad person, where if we're like, no, you're still required to wear one, it's not gonna be an issue.
Can I just?
Yep.
Say something there? It will be an issue. I think, we haven't had that issue yet.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, if we keep wearing it, and if it states and the library requires it, then it
If
should.
the library requires it, then the staff become the enforcers.
that's right, and that's difficult.
Yeah.
And it puts our staff in a really rough position. I will say that I spent 2 extra days here last week so that I could cover the greeter stand because I was afraid for our staff that people would be coming through without their masks. And then when we had to ask them to put on their masks, we would get some, you know, pushback. That did not happen, thankfully, but as this goes on and as more businesses announce that they are no longer requiring masks, I think that this could put our staff in a tricky situation. So my recommendation, I mean, if the board decides that they want to continue to require masks, I guess we'll have to enforce that. But I just want you to know that that could be very difficult for our staff. And most libraries, even though they're continuing the masking, they are no longer approaching people because of the danger it puts the staff in.
Well, that's what I feel like, in terms of protecting our patrons in general, without having anybody to say I'm vaccinated or I'm not vaccinated, and, because I know I saw some of this when I was an election judge, there were a couple of voters that were like telling other voters, put your mask on, cover your nose, and I mean, getting angry about it and getting confrontational, and I mean, I guess that's what makes me feel, you know, uncomfortable to when, you know, it's like, I don't know if staff's been put in that situation, and yeah, I don't want this to be negative, but like I said, I feel like the mask, for everybody's safety, whether it's staff, whether it's patrons, whether it's children, you know, whether I think it's necessary, especially when we have what I feel like is a fluid environment. There's different people coming through here all the time. It's not like you're just in an office setting and you have the same people every day. We have different, you know, the same thing when I feel at the courthouse. We've got different people coming through there, and it's a very contact environment with, you know, highly So I don't know, I mean,
Well, but Sandy did say the attendance is way down here, and I think the majority of the people that do come to the library in the morning are seniors looking at the newspapers.
Right.
And I know the seniors don't want to wear them. A lot of them have health issues and have trouble breathing and.
All right, we've got three things that I see that are kind of going on here. We've got safety concerns, we've got mask fatigue, and we've got the CDC saying if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear one, okay? And we've been asking people, this is something that the governor of Ohio was talking about, we've been asking people to, believe in the CDC guidelines all along, and now this is a CDC guideline. And, we may be doing something above and beyond it. So it's,
Oh, we have to be able to enforce it.
Jerry,
Jerry. I have two questions, basically, they should be addressed by Sandy. I'd like to get some kind of idea of how the staff feels about this issue. And then I would also like to know if you've contacted any other libraries in the area and what they're doing.
So let's talk about other libraries first. I know that Naperville is following the CDC guidelines. Bloomingdale has announced that they are following CDC guidelines. I believe that Glen Ellen and Wheaton, though I did not have time to confirm that today, I believe that they are also following CDC guidelines. Warrenville Park District announced yesterday that they are following the CDC guidelines. I'm not so concerned, Naperville, yes, because we do have people come here and say, Naperville's doing it, why aren't you doing it? I am more concerned about local agencies, so the Park District, our operations are completely different, so it's difficult to compare the two. However, we will have people, if we continue to require masks, there will be people come and say, well, how come, the Park District isn't requiring it? Why is the library requiring it? So we have to have a good answer for that. I did reach out to the city. They are not ready. They're still looking into things, and their city council will be discussing things on Monday night at their next meeting. They don't have a decision yet. As far as staff, I can ask the staff who are on the call to give their opinions. I think most of our staff will continue to wear masks. I think that is probably true. Jamie, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. I think myself included. And I think staff definitely want the plexiglass to remain at the desk as an added barrier between us and the public. I also know that when we do have to confront people that are not wearing their mask appropriately, we do get significant pushback, and it does make staff very uncomfortable. Because then it's like, okay, well, we have to go tell that person to raise up their mask, but also risk, that person coming back and, bringing a whole argument, and then staff just having to kind of sit and deal with that. I know staff feel safe at the desks, but I can't speak for when we're assisting members, like in my department at the counter and the fax and the self-checkout. If we're moving mask requirements for the work visitors, would make staff feel unsafe, even if they themselves are still wearing masks. So it's hard to say. I think it's a mixed bag.
You have some things listed here, precautions that you say you'll continue at this time.
Yes.
Is that planning to go until June 11th, when we supposedly will move in to Open Illinois, or when is your,
I think these will continue actually all summer long.
okay.
I'm pretty much committed to the plexiglass until at least the next pivot, which would be around Labor Day, possibly longer, if that makes staff feel safe.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
were there any other staff that had feedback?
I have Paul and Cynthia and Kathy on the line. Do any of you have feedback?
This is
Yeah.
Cynthia. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
So my biggest concern has to do with children, and the fact that we know that children under a specific age are not vaccinated because they can't be. And I think Barbara had touched on this as well, is the fact that in schools and other environments, it is a kind of a closed environment. And it's also, the schools are still wearing masks, and District 200 is still in school for another few weeks and so forth. So, I mean, one idea that came up would be the possibility of sort of sectioning off the youth area and making the youth area a masked zone, with the rest of the library on the honor system.
It's actually a pretty good idea.
Okay, thanks, Cynthia. Paul, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. I know just from a personal standpoint, I'll be continuing to wear masks even though I'm fully vaccinated. And I know some of my staff has expressed some of the same concerns as well. And we also kind of discussed the idea that Cynthia just brought up with having the youth area be a mask area, especially since most kids can't get the vaccine right now. But again, myself, I'll probably continue for a while until there's a higher number of vaccinated people, I guess. But yeah, I'm okay with the adult area being in the honor system, and I do think it's a good idea to have the youth area mask if possible.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Kathy, did you have anything to add, or have the others covered it?
I would say that the others have covered it. I personally will still wear a mask in the library, but I do not interact with the public as certainly Paul and Jamie and their staffs do. Good idea to add masks for our youth services area, and otherwise go on the honor system in our other areas. I think that the transactional nature of so much of what we do, the quick pop-ins to get something off of the hold shelf, or a 10-15 minute browse, I think where children are concerned, their folks will keep them. If the parent is wearing a mask, the child will wear a mask. And again, otherwise we'll just have to leave it on the honor system.
Do we have any feedback from Diana, or is that?
Diana's on as an attendee. Diana, can you send a text message to Jackie? You have your phone here? Mm-hmm. Diana, can you send a text message to Jackie if you have anything to add, and I can unmute you?
Don't have to write a whole book, Diana.
Okay, I don't hear anything.
Nothing's coming from me. I was just with her being in the youth library. And
Oh,
nothing.
nothing. Okay. Nothing that's been.
So Sandy, what's your reaction to this idea of having a mask area in the youth area?
I'm fully in favor of that option.
I think that's a great
I
idea.
do too.
And also understand that our discovery room is not open, so there really are not activities in the library for children at this time. It is, as Kathy mentioned, it's transactional more in nature. Come in, browse for books, get what you need, and go. And we can even make it, we had planned to put some tables and chairs out in the youth section, but maybe we hold off on that furniture in the children's department. or limit it, severely, but, or we can put it out and see what happens and pull it back if we have to.
You have sufficient staff to, I don't like this word, but enforce this decision?
Yes.
The mask in the youth area?
Yes, and I think that people would be more, the general public, I think would be more sympathetic to and understanding. You know, there is a reason why we would require masks in the children's department, because those children that are under the age of 12 cannot be vaccinated.
Diana did send more comment.
Oh,
She has shared her concerns with her supervisor and Sandy, and that people in, youth services wear the mask mainly for the kiddos.
Yeah.
Whoops. She
Okay.
loves the idea of using the stanchions.
Oh, yeah, so today we talked about using some kind of a stanchion like you would see at a movie theater, a kind of a rope line across the gateway into youth services, so that people would have to funnel through just one of those openings, and there would be clear signage that the masks are required in that area. They did mention to me that sometimes people try to sneak around, because adults are really not supposed to be in that area unless they're accompanied by children, and the adults like to sneak around or sneak through other areas. So we would find a way to make it very clear that this area is separate from the rest of the library.
We would likely have to have a supply of masks on hand.
And we do.
We already have that at each of the service desks.
And we have children.
All right, I think I'm coming up with a motion here, maybe. I move that we follow the CDC guidance for the honor system for people who are vaccinated to be unmasked in the library, and have additional precautions in the children's area, and have the children's area sectioned off and require masks in that area. We will continue with using the plexiglass for employee safety. I think that's enough.
I can second that, because it truly does go with the entire statement that the
So
CDH does.
How about, the children's area being masked required and sectioned off until such time as children reach vaccination?
That's
I mean,
That's
we
good.
don't really need to have anything about the plexiglass, because that's internal with the library.
Yeah, that's true.
But eventually, those things get faded away.
Mhm.
I mean, some people are, even though we know it doesn't live on surfaces, some people are still wearing gloves and cleaning everything. It's a matter of, people have their different comfort levels.
Right.
And it's gonna take a while for people to get rid of certain things.
I think it's a good amendment to do.
I would like to, I know, Sandy, you're not a big fan of signage, but I would like to have something on the main entrance doors saying that this is an honor system.
So we have, Kathy had developed some really great signage for our pivot on June 1st. That basically very boldly stated masks are required. That was before this came out. But I think that our new signage, Kathy and I will work on it. It will say that, I think it will ask people that if you are unvaccinated, please, we'll find a nice way to say it.
Yep.
Please respect others and wear, I don't know if respect others will be it, but
That's what I was going for.
There's some
I'd really
good
like to
language.
see that on our main entrances.
yes, we have big sign boards that we plan to set out, that will state those things, so.
Okay.
Good job. I think Kathy has it under control. Kathy, do you have anything to add to that?
I will have it under control with Sandy's guidance. I think we will need, I guess, based on what the outcome is now, like when we would want that sign out there. So
1 p.m. tomorrow.
we will get it out as soon as we can.
Get the card out, Kathy.
All right, I think we should,
I accept the challenge.
we have thrown down the gauntlet.
I think it's a great resolution.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and and vote on this motion. Jackie, could you read whatever you have written?
I was gonna have to re-listen to the tape.
Oh, okay.
Trustee DeRocher moved to follow the CDC guidance for people to be masked in the library and additional precautions to be made in the children's area, sectioned off with masks required until children can be vaccinated.
What was the first part?
Yeah, it was a little.
Trustee DeRocher, it kind of, I need to fix it. Trustee
Well, but we know
DeRocher
what we're voting on, so.
moved to follow the CDC guidance for people to be masked in the library and additional precautions to be taken in the children's area. And then it's also section off the youth services area with mask requirements.
It should
Until
be
children
unvaccinated
can be
people
You
to
gotta
be
fix
masked in
that
the
first
library.
sentence, it sounds like we're
Yeah.
requiring people to wear.
Yes,
Yeah.
how about, let's think this through, let's think this
Well,
through.
then you gotta say it again.
Can we just say unvaccinated people should be masked in the library instead of everybody?
Following the CDC guidelines, vaccinated people do not need to wear masks,
Slow
but
down.
Probably not required to wear.
not required to wear a mask, but unvaccinated people need to be wearing a mask. The children's area following CDC guidelines will be sectioned off for their protection until they can, a vaccine is,
Until further notice.
well, until the vaccine is available.
We have no guide, we
Yeah.
have no timeline
Yeah,
for that.
and we would
No.
rather
So
have
then we're
percentage
gonna
I-
have,
of people having taken.
Is anyone
it.
unclear on what we're voting on?
no,
No,
Then we're gonna go ahead and make a vote, and I believe that Jackie will come up with the right one.
I don't- Okay, if you, Jackie, if you're gonna come up with it, fine.
Well, I have,
But-
again, here's another one I just typed while you talked. Trustee DeRocher moved to follow the CDC guidelines for guidance. Vaccinated people are not required to wear a mask, but unvaccinated people need to wear a mask. The children's area will be sectioned off until the vaccination is available.
How about the children's area will be a masked area?
Yeah.
Will require masks, something like that. The children's area will require masks.
Maybe all mask area, will be all mask.
I'm writing something here too,
All right, Sandy may be coming.
I don't know. Sorry.
No, it's fine, I wanna make
Okay,
sure that
we
we're
can
following
bullet
clear.
point.
CDC guidelines allowing vaccinated people. No, I don't like that.
I think it'd be better to have it bullet points, then you can say vaccinated people may choose not to wear a mask. Unvaccinated people are requested to wear a mask,
required.
required to wear a mask.
Maybe what you guys are saying
All-
is say what I've got written down.
All
Yeah.
people entering the children area are required to wear a mask.
Yeah.
That-
That's
There
it.
you go,
Yeah.
That's easy.
what Rick said.
That's what I said, following,
Entering the children's
Okay,
area.
following CDC guidelines, fully vaccinated people do not need to wear a mask except in the children's area where masks will be required for all. Unvaccinated individuals will be required to wear a mask at all times in the library.
All right.
You got that written down?
I
Ding,
did.
ding, ding. All right,
I'm taking out what I have.
all right, we're gonna go ahead and take a vote on it. Trustee Warren,
Get them all.
was that an aye? Okay. Trustee Richardson,
Yes.
trustee Stahl,
It'll be
Trustee
effective
Rosika.
immediately.
trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Pika,
Aye.
and trustee DeRocher votes aye.
We can
Motion
clarify
carries.
that. We'll make this effective
We'll make it-
You're gonna
immediately.
put a date
Point
on
of
it.
order, can I take it off now then?
If you make it effective immediately and you're comfortable with that,
That's why I'm
I
asking
think
the
that's
question.
fine.
Is it effective immediately or 1:00 tomorrow?
Oh,
Is there a reason to not have it be effective immediately?
They don't have a
We
sign
the call
ready.
sign.
Posted, I would say.
It'll be, I think, we don't open till 1:00 tomorrow and Kathy's here early, I can be here early. We can figure something out.
So,
okay.
I'm gonna be bold here.
Okay, boldness.
Smothering.
Yeah, it's warm in this room, I think,
My face is
I haven't
sweating.
been breathing.
tonight. Okay,
You look remarkably well.
All right,
Very well done,
so
folks.
I'm gonna go out on limb here and say, I am actually going to advise staff. This is an honor system, so we are not going to approach people who are not wearing their masks and ask them, are you vaccinated? That's
Please
not
do.
going to be our job, so
Yes, I
just
agree.
to clarify.
Stared me down, you will.
We don't want to put them in
That,
that position.
that is an excellent clarification, and I think that we're all in agreement. Do we need
Yes.
to vote on that?
I
I
don't
think that
think
we're in
that's
agreement.
necessary.
She's just clarifying, and I don't think that we
As
should.
long as this will be the policy and then, the
You
only
can
thing I
always
wonder,
change policy.
so I wonder if at this point, if we want to rescind this, the COVID-19 addendum to library use policy?
Well, but my question is, don't we need it in place in case we have to go?
Yeah,
back
it's-
forth?
I think we should just leave it in case something happens.
Yeah, in case, I mean, I'm thinking like this fall or winter,
Okay,
you know.
so I'll add what
We
you
could
just
go
voted
back.
on as an addendum addendum to the addendum,
Right.
amendment, effective
To the-
tomorrow. Well, tomorrow.
And are you and Kathy going to try to have some kind of email go out?
Yes.
Great.
And do we need to revisit this once children under 12 can be vaccinated?
I think that we would bring it up for additional action once that's, moving forward.
Can you get that on your list?
Or if
I'll
things change.
That might be.
Yeah, if other guidance changes and they just lift all masks policies, we're really gonna have to revisit.
Well, you could have a heading that says phase 5 or whatever.
We can hear you.
For phase 5 guidelines, or
I
so that
think,
you don't have to go and delete the whole thing, only to have to go back and put it back in. So you'd say for
There's a sentence
phase,
that could be,
for below phase 5, and then at and beyond phase 5.
so I will say the trouble is the state changes their guidelines without announcing it for the different phases. We've experienced that.
Oh, that's right.
Where we plan for things at a certain phase, the documentation is there one day to do it one way, then they implement it and they update all the documentation and then different rules. So it's very hard to, it's hard to put things in writing. Because
well,
things
this
change.
paragraph you have on page 32, someone addresses the situation. This policy addendum will be in force at least until the Department of Public Health declares the state of Illinois has reached phase 5.
So I have another question though too. I realize we've titled this COVID-19 and that's really what we've been dealing with. But my question is, shouldn't this be more broadly titled to suggest pandemic? Because we don't know if there's gonna be another situation. I mean, whether it's the Black Plague coming back or, you know, say COVID 2022 or something that, you know, instead of saying we're having to adapt a policy for each type of pandemic that, you know, and I realize it may change guidelines, but most likely, say with the mask guidelines, that's probably something that would come back. And
Oh, we could certainly retitle it, but I mean, whatever else comes at us, we're gonna have to adjust to whatever its conditions are.
If it's the same
So,
thing coming
It's
back.
probably likely that it's not gonna be the same.
right,
She has a point that it'd be good to have a pandemic policy
Correct.
so that we don't panic if it happens again.
Certainly would be a boilerplate
And have
to
to,
begin with.
well, yeah, but at least we'd have something to throw
Right.
into the works.
And that's
we
what
don't
I'm
have
hoping
to-
that when this is all over, I can find time to do that, but we would have a pandemic policy that would be based on what we've learned from this experience.
Maybe we should revisit that in the latter part of summer. To see how what we've got here worked.
If you guys, if the board wants me to do that, I can do that, but then I am going to need some other support to continue to run the library during this pandemic.
well, I'm thinking that we should even wait till, I would say next summer, because I don't feel like the crisis is essentially over with.
Yeah, I mean,
And so I think whether you call it pivoting again or, you know, because I'd rather wait and see what happens this fall and winter.
Well,
Everybody
the
agrees?
vaccinated people
It's
will be
been-
getting booster shots.
Right,
Yeah.
and that too has been when it's been at its worst.
So,
I think
All
the
right,
end
I
of
don't
the
think
summer
it's
is
a
too
timeline,
soon
even
to
if
think
they're-
that this is being over.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember my evaluation. The pandemic has been a full-time job in and of itself,
Right.
which means that I have dropped many of my day-to-day responsibilities. So if the board wants me to really address pandemic policies, then I am going to need someone else here to manage the day-to-day operations. Until we're out of this and I can get caught up on everything that I have basically fallen behind on in the last 15 months.
I
It's just
think there's a
waiting.
policy in place now to address the day-to-day issues, and we have a clear way to go backwards, for lack of a better term, if necessary. I think I'm hearing too from Sandy. We just wait.
Because who knows what's gonna happen in the fall with this, I don't think this thing is over with yet.
I really do
Until
think we
it's
should,
over with, we should just wait before we make a broader policy.
I agree that we should take a wait and see approach and not really try to do that. Rick, how are
Because
you
by the
feeling
end of
about
the
that?
summer is too early.
I think I think that'd be fine. We can let it
But
mature.
Okay, all right, we're gonna move on then. We have still got many things to do here.
Are we under a vote? We have a.
No, we already voted.
And I'm
Really?
gonna
We
add,
didn't?
yes, you did.
No.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we did.
You did. I will work this, what you voted on tonight, I will work that language into this policy.
Okay.
We'll update the policy based on what you voted on.
I was like, yes, we did.
We voted on the wording, but not on the revision.
No, we voted on the actual motion.
Yeah, we did. But then we started talking about more.
Yeah, we already.
Does this group feel like we need to vote again?
No,
Okay,
no.
fine.
All right,
That's fine.
fantastic. We are going to look at circulation policies. We're gonna actually do some movement on some circulation.
I move to approve revised policies, including number 210, library cards, number 211, loan periods, limits, renewals, and holds, number 212, fine-free library, number 213, notices and recovery of overdue materials, number 215, circulation of in-library, use equipment, and number 520, interlibrary loan.
Second.
Okay, that was trustee Ritzika and trustee Luzon seconding. Jamie, I want to say this was an enormous amount of work, so thank you.
Yeah, I worked on it with my staff, so they were definitely very helpful in digging into our website and SWAN's policies to make sure that everything aligned and was correct.
Well, I must say, I really, really appreciate the Cards for Kids non-resident card. That's something that I think is really, really necessary to a lot of kids that we just don't realize.
I agree, I'm glad to see it. And I'm also glad to see the pilot program that you're gonna be launching for new residents, that's great. Good to reach out. Were there anybody, did anybody have any questions? Sandy or Jamie, someone wrote this nice summary here on page 33, but there is, detail beyond that.
So the
Heather?
question I had, because there's one part of Warrenville that is not in the Wheaton Warrenville School District, if there's, I don't know how much, if there is any, say, unincorporated area that would be included, that would be outside of that, because Maple Hill is not in the Wheaton Warrenville School District. It's in the West Chicago School District 33 and High School District 94.
So then I believe that they would qualify for that school, for the libraries that are in that school district.
Okay, so that would be the West Chicago Library, not Warrenville then.
I believe.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the non-residents are eligible for a card at the library that serves, that is located in the school district that they would be eligible to, the high school district. Yes.
Okay, other questions about the policies that, and the revisions that were made? All right, I think we can go ahead, and this is just a,
I think this is a roll
Roll
call.
call?
This is
All right.
policy, yes.
all right, policy. Trustee Pika,
Aye.
trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Rizika.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl,
Aye.
trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
motion passes.
And I too will say thank you to Jamie and her staff. It was a short discussion, but it was a lot of work, so.
Yeah,
See that.
I can tell, it was really a lot of work, just by the,
Love
it's
that.
always impressive when you put all those extra pages in the board packet, and you're like, oh, wow, they really spent a lot of time on this.
The timing is great. You just do that.
All right, let's move on to the director's report. That is on page 50.
So we are working on hiring, so next week we will have 2 new people join our staff. One in the youth services department and one in the adult services department. So we will try to invite them, if they're available, to come to a future board meeting and introduce themselves. Jamie and I are still working on hiring a part-time person for the member services desk. And Cynthia and I completed interviews today for the part-time technology associate. So perhaps next month we will have a full house of new employees for you to meet. I did want to note here, you probably saw that Nora has received
Yes.
kind of an appointment to an
Nice.
internship at the Smithsonian, which is really quite an honor.
Yeah.
And very exciting. So I have approved a leave of absence for her through the summer months. And we just confirmed we have a part-time employee who will be joining us temporarily through the summer.
Oh, nice.
And if it works out, that individual will fill a part-time position we have in adult services in the fall.
How did she find out about this?
It was a person that Jamie and I stole her from Jamie. Jamie and I interviewed this young lady.
How did
Oh.
Nora find out about this opportunity at the Smithsonian?
Nora is studying for her master's degree in library information science, so I'm sure that it was something that she was clued into through that. And her interests lie in museum work and cultural studies, so this is just a perfect fit for what she's wanting to do. Yes, but the person we're using to fill her shoes for the summer, I stole from Jamie.
Oh.
Sorry, Jamie.
No, she's gonna be.
Yes, she's a great, yes, she's gonna
Everybody
be a
works in
great
the same
asset.
place, right? All right,
Great asset. Another
Good
Spanish
question.
speaking individual. So,
excellent. That's
With a
fabulous.
great passion for serving underrepresented populations. So.
Wonderful, that's fun.
And then we have our pivots outlined here, June 1st.
Mhm.
We'll be busy. We'll be busy.
I'm glad to see our hours expanding.
Yeah.
That's
And then,
great. And you have with these hires, you'll have the staff to be able to fill those hours?
yes, and then we'll be adding just a few more staff, probably in August to get ourselves back to our pre-pandemic hours. Or as close as we possibly can. That's our hope.
Including Sundays, you think?
I think so.
Wow. I miss Sundays.
I was gonna say, I think that our community expects us to be open on Sundays.
Yeah.
That was our busiest day,
Yeah.
hour for hour, so. Maybe we'll trim hours somewhere else.
This is
if
gonna
that
happen,
happens, But
we never do early nights, so.
So, the correspondence that we got, or the comment that we got earlier in the evening about allowing for longer time,
yes,
that's really gonna be taken care of by these June 1st.
yes, and that individual knows that that is coming. He sent an email from a study table, and I was at the greeter's stand when he left, so I was able to say, hey, I got your email, and I want you to know.
Okay, good.
June 1st, put it on your calendar.
June 1st
So-
is coming
Yes.
down the pipe pretty darn quick.
So he was
Around the
happy,
bend.
happy to
Yes.
hear that.
Wonderful. All right. Anything else you want to highlight from the pivots? Anyone
don't-
else want to make any comments about them?
Well, so I was just curious, where it says eliminate the 1 hour limit for in-library visits, so we're not tracking to see, so, okay. That's,
We really never have.
Right.
The only way we would track people is if they reserved a study table
oh, okay.
or reserved a computer, then we knew that they were here for that period of time.
Oh, that was my question. When do we think study rooms will be available?
We don't know. We're still using, this mass guidance may change some of our things. Some of our study rooms are being used for furniture storage. Others are being used for staff to eat in, because we're not allowing staff to take off their masks to eat together in a room. This could change. Not all of our staff are vaccinated, so we still need some closed office space for people to take their meal breaks, but we'll work through it. We don't plan to have the meeting room or study rooms available until after Labor Day.
Well, that would be good to coincide with the school years.
Right. It could change depending on how things go, but right now our plan is after Labor Day.
So does that also apply to the quiet room, knowing that sometimes that's been one of the highest
Yes.
requested?
The quiet room right now is wall-to-wall furniture.
Well, some of that's coming out.
Some of it is, but we're not bringing everything out at this time.
All right. Any other questions or comments about the pivots?
I guess the one other, do you anticipate opening the team room then like after Labor Day possibly, or?
Yes, I think after Labor Day, we would probably go back to normal. We'd be able to, my hope is that at that time, we'll be able to put all the furniture back out on the floor and then just use those rooms as they were initially intended.
Okay, good.
That depends on the vaccine.
That is correct. The teen lounge, you know, the 12 and over are eligible for
Yes.
vaccinations. You know, the discovery room, if the children that are under 12 still don't have that opportunity, we may still be requiring masks in the children's department and not encouraging gathering there, so wait and see.
I don't know if my class is an indicator of the rest of the body of people who are 12 to 18 years old, but they opened it up for 12-year-olds, I believe, on Wednesday of last week, and by Friday, my entire class had their first vaccination.
Wow.
So they are anxious to be able to go do stuff.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
Wow,
It's great.
losers coming.
It's great they have access.
Yeah, while the
Yes.
place is open.
Get your tickets, yeah.
all right. Anything else that you want to highlight, Sandy?
I do not have anything else.
Okay.
So the only question I had is when, under the FOIA request for that commercial cleaning proposal, is that where they were submitting it, or were they?
They were asking if we were interested in a proposal.
Oh, I
It
see,
just
okay.
happened to come in through our FOIA email, so that triggers a whole FOIA response.
Well, that's why I was like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to move on to the department head reports. Does anybody have any comments about any of those department head reports?
I had a question, we probably have covered this once before, but I just had somebody ask me today about it. The concerts in the commons. Are we doing that this summer? No?
No,
Okay.
we would have had to apply for a grant last September,
Okay.
and at that time things were too unknown.
I'm certain we probably talked about it, just they
Okay.
asked me today, just like, I don't remember, I don't think so, because of the planning involved.
Right. It was, the deadline for us to make that decision was, we would have had to know in August last year probably, so,
And plans for summer days, I do know they're holding that.
okay.
Do we have any plans at what we're doing for summer days?
We have not heard yet about summer days for
Okay.
sure, so we were waiting to hear about that information, and then we'll make a decision.
So I had one question on Paul's report. I was really curious about the session attended by the staff regarding peek behind the administration curtain trustee secrets our library staff need to know.
Yeah, I thought we kept that pretty well under wraps. What do you think?
Paul, did you hear that?
I did hear that, yes. I don't, off the top of my head, recall which staff member attended that session, though.
You'll have to look it up and ask them to write a 3-sentence summary for the next month's report.
So we know.
Okay.
Yeah.
None of us know what our secrets are, so.
The trustees want to know the secrets.
Yeah, what secrets are we talking about?
Well, or are we hiding that we?
Yeah, right.
There's such secret reading.
Our Keurig machine apparently isn't working.
Yeah, that's a secret.
All right, any other comments? I'm so happy about our new library cards.
And the
They
new
are
magnet
so
that
cool
came
looking.
tonight.
Yeah,
Kathy left a copy of the Reading Matters, the summer edition, for each of you, which should be arriving in mailboxes, I think
It
today.
was, I saw it tonight.
Good.
Did not
And then
get
the
to finish reading
magnets.
it before I came to the meeting.
And the magnets.
I really want a new library card, but I don't want to give up my old number because I
I know.
have it memorized. So,
With the addition of the new library cards, we are also enforcing that you will no longer be charging for replacement cards.
And
wonderful.
we can come to the desk and you can take care of it then. right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, so if anybody wants, even, I know I'm attached to my card, but no. If anybody wants a new
And I
card,
love the photograph. I like the photograph.
yeah, and we've still got that too.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we've got both options.
I think I discovered this week, my husband probably has the oldest Warrenville Public Library card in existence. He pulled it out to hand to me to get a book for him, and I'm
Is
like,
it the white
this
one?
is the one you got 25 years ago, isn't it?
The little white one?
Yeah.
I still have my first library card I got in elementary school. Along with
That
the
is
little
awesome.
freight
But he's still
pocket
using it.
Wow.
Wow.
It's
That's how we
amazing,
did it this way.
it's amazing that it's held up that long.
All right.
No, it has pieces out of it.
Oh, okay,
I'm gonna keep us moving, people.
all right.
All right, any other, comments about the,
How did the Warrenville bike rodeo go?
Good.
It was good. Kathy, do you want to say anything about the bike rodeo?
It came out
I guess
in the
not.
rain.
It's not.
she's still,
Oh,
there she is.
I'm here, sorry.
All right.
Yeah, I thought the bike rodeo was wonderful. It was a little wet, here and there. I thought it was very well attended. It was my first time at the rodeo. So I can't compare, but we gave out 90 of our bags at the rodeo. And I have some tally numbers in the office, but we talked to probably 40 or 50 people. They were very happy to see us there. They were asking about our services, telling us about enjoying some of the Zoom and recorded events. And then they were asking questions about what's ahead. So it was a good opportunity for us to meet our, see many of the community members after not seeing them for quite some time.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Kathy.
And we gained 2 new members.
Oh, very good.
Good.
Great. Well,
Are they holding, what is it, night out?
Don't know yet.
okay, the president's report, I'm gonna let you, no, it's clearly what's coming up is our next meeting on June 16th. And we're gonna adopt our working budget. And the director's goals, wow.
The director's goals, I think, I don't have director's goals.
Will you have them by June?
No, no.
Oh, why is it on here?
I think it's typically, I actually think they were supposed to be adopted this month, but
Okay,
it's usually discussion of the board has, but no, I don't have it.
all right.
Survival.
Next
Yeah,
is
that's
our
the note I'm in.
treasurer's report.
Jackie has done her annual process for the telecommunications rebate. And that's $350, almost $350 back.
There you go.
You saw.
Spend it all in one.
Well, that's gonna pay for your treats.
Okay. And then this month's bill for our interest payment for our debt certificate went up.
Good, all right. you have anything to report, Secretary Stull?
Well, I don't really have anything to report this month, as it's just, I've just served the last half of the meeting. So, but I guess I'd just like to reiterate how pleased I am with the kids for card situation, so that, that was my only objection ever to when we did the, tax thing for the residents, just I felt like to have greater access for children to be able to use the library, so I think it's really good that it's something that we're doing. So.
Good, and we are at our final.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more comment. I finally feel I am old enough to be on the board. I hit my 60th birthday this month.
Oh
my God.
Congratulations.
Having been the youngest person for so long, starting at 48, I'm like, I feel
Happy
like I
birthday.
finally have the age and security wisdom to be here.
Happy birthday.
I'm still 58. Am I the baby?
Possibly.
I joined before I was 48, for sure.
Oh, Warren was 31.
Anyway, any other trustee comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment that it looks like Jerry and Barb really cleaned up during the election because they had more than anybody else had up there.
No.
In bigger towns, I was looking at St. Charles, and I don't think that anybody supports anything in St. Charles.
You have a very good point, Rick. That is an excellent point. This community voted more than many larger communities, so,
Yay us.
not as much
Yes,
as
yeah,
it
yeah.
probably should have, but that is very true, Rick.
I felt very supported. So,
Both of you were. You both had good returns.
all right, our final motion, who'd like to?
I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:36.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who seconded that?
That was,
All of us.
we didn't get a
At the
second.
same time.
We didn't get a second.
I didn't want a second.
I just.
Sorry. We have to go back and do it again.
Second. I said
There,
there.
Sandy was on. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Sharon
carries.
and Barbara, don't forget to sign those oaths.
8:36.
Sign